Paul McCarthy from Cognitive Carly here with another brain booster. Today we're going to talk about a very simple concept that helps us think about cognitive decline in a simple way, and that's called cognitive reserve. The idea behind cognitive reserve is that if our brains have a capacity of 100, let's use just 100 as a random number, and as we age and as we go through life, we gradually decline. And we know that 50 is a number that we can't go past without losing our ability to live independently. And so there's that number that's always going to be there. Some people decline at a faster rate, some people decline at a slower rate. And if you have the genetic predisposition for Alzheimer's and perhaps dementia, that decline is going to be a significantly increased rate. What cognitive reserve does is, instead of our capacities being 100, because of the way we live our lives, the way we rest and recover, the way we fuel our bodies, and the way that we move, we can increase that capacity, 120, 150, 200. And that way, no matter what our rate of decline, we will have a greater period of life where we get to live independently and live happier, healthier lives. So talking about cognitive reserve, we can do lots of things. Exercise is great. We talked about diet and rest and recovery and things like that. And obviously learning new languages, learning a different physical activity, learning to dance, learning mathematics and things like that. Those are big ticket items that are going to help with that cognitive reserve. But maybe some people don't have the ability to do all those things. What we can do is do small incremental changes throughout our lives. And one of the things I'd like to talk about today is changing our ADLs, our activities of daily lives, just slightly, so that it keeps our brain working, it keeps boosting our brains, it keeps generating new neurons through neurogenesis and connecting different neurons together through neuroplasticity. And we're going to use this with a Carly example. We're going to do it with just simple stuff first. First, you take your fingers and we're going to draw an X. We've done this a bunch of times. This is from the fundamental series. We go through a whole set of drills with this. Instead of drawing from high to low, forehand and backhand, high to low. And I can do that with both hands. Practicing that with both hands is a really good idea. Maybe I do one hand and then the other hand, and I do that. And so just doing that with my fingers out, that's relatively easy. I'm just learning how to move my arms. When I add something, it adds cognitive load. It changes how I can do this movement, so I have to change a few parameters. So the first thing I'm going to pick up is a pen. Super simple, it's really light, but I've got to grip it a certain way. And so now I've got to think about a few more things. I grab it with the other hand and I can do this as well. And that is increasing my cognitive load because of just a simple thing, grip. We move upwards a little bit, I grab a wooden spoon. Again, I've got to grab it, probably a similar grip, but now I've got a little bit of top heavy weight. Oh, and I can start doing my movement a little bit more open here as well. With the other hand, maybe I do it from the bottom. That feels a little strange because the grip is slightly different there as well. We move on. I pick something else from my kitchen, big old kind of spatula thing right here. This has grips on it, so it feels nice to grab, but I've got this increased resistance when I do it through the flat end like this, which feels kind of weird. I can switch it, but then the grip's different and slice through, and it's slightly different. It's a bit wobbly, it's a bit nerve-wracking doing that. And so I'm going to move on to something even more weird. Well, let's grab the umbrella. So you've got just a basic umbrella here, and I can swing this. Again, very top heavy, a little bit more drag. I don't have much to grip there. All these things are adding cognitive load. Last thing I grab, get the saucepan. Be careful where you're swinging. And I can swing this around. Very top heavy. Notice I'm going much slower. Switch it to my other hand, and I can move around there. So I'm thinking about grip, top heavy, it's just a weird shape, and that's going to increase my cognitive load. So doing something you do every day slightly different is going to help with that cognitive reserve. It's going to make your brain kind of kick into a higher gear so that it can use more of its capacity to figure out what the new problem is. With Carly, we have the same idea. I can start off with a simple knife. A training knife, aluminum knife, and I can do my big swings right here and use a lot of body movement, or I could do some very small cuts with both hands right there. I can upgrade. This is slightly different than usual. It's an 18-inch stick. The Serrata system uses these short sticks a little bit, so I can do that. Now my grip is pretty much the same as Carly. I'm going to keep the grip the same and just move up the lengths. This is my typical Carly stick, a 26, 28-inch stick. It's about an inch thick. And I can do my X pattern with the stick right there. And this is what we typically use for the fundamental series, the online course that we've got out there. I'm going to upgrade a little bit more. I've got a 42-inch stick. Now, usually we use this called Dos Manos. Usually we use 2 hands, but I'm just going to use 1. And I'm going to make sure I have enough room. Now I've got to really kind of like figure out how do I twist this around to bring it back. Make sure I'm not hitting myself with the puño, and it's a lot more wieldy, right? Because it's a lot longer. There's a lot more kind of weight and biomechanics that I have to figure out. I can go from that to another longer thing, but this has very top heavy. This is a kind of a training shilleting. So I can use this, and again, I have to go very slowly, but notice how I'm using the momentum to swing around to bring it up. If I stop here, I have to bring it all the way down here. So I'm going to use that momentum to do this. This is a nice one to play with. And then go into something that's slightly a different shape, training tactical tomahawk or anything like that, and I can swing this. I got to be careful with this. Got a big spike on the back, and I don't want to hit myself with that, so I'm going to do kind of shorter swings right there. I can do hacks with this. I can hack and hack and hack. I can spin it around, use the spike and spike like that. And that's all part of our Kali training within the martial art. And then last thing, I can grab something flexible. This makes it a lot harder. I'm going to wrap this around my hand a little bit, about that long, right? And I have to keep the momentum going. If I do this slow, you kind of see it doesn't really work. So I have to keep that motion going. So see, I'm using that momentum to come through again. This could be a scarf, could be a belt, could be anything like that. So that X pattern, that simple movement of just this and this, doing it with both hands creates cognitive load. Using different implements, different weights, different lengths, different shapes creates additional cognitive load. You can do this with anything in your everyday life. The best example I have is brushing your teeth. Spend the entire next week brushing your teeth with the other hand than you usually do and see how difficult it is. And just doing that, that's going to increase neurons in your brain. It's going to increase connections between the neurons that exist right now, and it's going to help you build that cognitive reserve if, hopefully it doesn't happen, but if you have a significant cognitive decline, you won't get to a point where you're not able to live an independent life. So we're going to be looking at Alzheimer's and dementia over the next month, and so I thought I'd talk about cognitive reserve, something I learned from Dr. Sean Mulling, one of our neuroscience advisors, and something that's really good to take into consideration as we walk through our daily lives. You don't have to do those big things of learning a new language or learning an entire new set of things. Just make small changes here and there. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the drills, and we'll see you in courses. Cheers.